Dear most alienated generation in history, do you ever feel uneasy knowing that after high school or after college, the road ahead is yours alone to walk? Every choice, every turning, every misstep, yours to make, with nothing but the unknown stretching before you like an uncharted sea. You could be a YouTuber, a barista, a NEET, though the fruits of your labor will never amount to the wealth you'd seen in the movies, and many of us are pissed off. Of course, there's much to criticize about our generation. Is it bad? At times. Is it good? Perhaps. I just wanted to share a brief collection of my thoughts on the matter today. I've noticed something about the lack of motivation and initiative often attributed to people younger than 35. It's not that no one wants to work anymore. If flipping burgers could buy a mansion, the line to hand in your resume would stretch to the horizon. The problem is what happens when the path set before you ends, and without direction or hope, many fall into the quiet, indifferent pull of absurdity, and they wonder why so many people are slipping into the shadows of their childhood bedrooms. How does this connect to the fact that nearly half of people aged 18 to 24 still live with their parents? I did everything I could to avoid that fate. I wanted independence. I did well in school. But, as we all know, life happens, and in May 2020, there I was again, in my room. Imagine the college graduations of the 90s when people wore mortarboards and celebrated with certainty the future was bright. Come 30 years later, my college graduation, a Zoom call from my bed, 300 of us, some with our cameras off, others smiling and talking to the professors leading the meeting, though all of us were waiting for it to end. And when it did, I remember closing my laptop at that moment and thinking to myself, wow, college is officially over. And like that, I was on my own again, watching YouTube videos and probably drinking more wine than I should. My mother still lived in that secluded suburb I've mentioned in previous videos. All I could celebrate was that summer was coming at the time. But that was when the weight of adulthood settled in, staring out the lone window in my room at the western horizon. In winter, I'd watch the sun slip behind the trees, feeling untethered. No school ahead, no grand career, just another night of silence. I wanted to work in a major animation studio like Pixar or Disney, but having been surrounded by so many talented people, I felt I wasn't good enough. Or maybe I just didn't care enough to play the game, to lend my passion to some lifeless corporate sludge, to spend years drawing frames for the kind of stories that don't even believe in themselves. I told myself I wanted to live a life of authenticity, not one lived for money, because I don't want to die regretting not having used my passions to make something I wanted. But that realization and choice not to do so came with a price. When you're in NEET, the days bleed together. You know a normal job won't bring fulfillment, but the alternative is drifting. Waking when you want, eating whatever's in the fridge, the Lunchables, the midnight Captain Crunch, the morning of 2 eggs and toast. The hours stretch out, gray and shapeless. And all the while, you watch your parents age, while you wake up every morning doing the same few things that you love, trapped in the slowly ending afternoon of your youth. Let's play devil's advocate here and say you get a job at Starbucks. Deal with bad customers, pay your taxes, surrender your time, your energy, your individuality. For what? A company that sees you as nothing but a warm body, a cog in the machine, the knowledge that your effort exists only to make someone else richer. I couldn't do it. At least as a NEET, I could rejoice in the fact that I retained enough time for myself to be creative when I wanted to. And this feeling I'm describing to you, I wouldn't call it giving up. Just a creeping sense that maybe you don't even like being human in the first place. But yet, you don't want to die either. For people like us, the internet has made life more convenient, but not lavish. If anything, it's deepened our awareness of the quiet frustration that comes with existing. Convenience isn't what makes us happy. It's what makes us comfortable. Think of a big mouse and a little mouse playing a game. If the big mouse doesn't let the little mouse win at least 30% of the time, the little mouse will stop playing. And that's it, isn't it? Gen Z is probably giving up, not because we failed, but because we've never been able to win. The rabbit hole you find yourself in, after marinating in the fact you have to work with what you have, is separate from the rat race itself. Peer into your own life, find what you like, and do your best to enjoy the simple pleasures of being alone, terrifying as they are. I believe that self-discovery will attract more people like you, and hopefully you'll have a beautiful friendship to celebrate after the fact. So anyway, after waking up from my existential slumber, once my mother fell asleep and the house fell silent, I was stranded in my own thoughts. Too far from a bus stop to go anywhere, left to wander the streets of a town that wasn't really mine. These weren't lively streets I'm talking about, just modest houses with neatly trimmed lawns, the kind owned by people 20 years my senior, people who had somehow carved out lives stable enough to be here. There are millions of people like me, and I know I'm not alone, stepping out into the night for a smoke, restless in a world that has no place for them. I always ended my walks at the bench by the river next to my house, sitting there as the cold settled in, watching the water move, feeling the weight of time. That river became the inspiration for the solo album I pieced together back then, a record of all those quiet, wandering nights, called 700 Days. At times, I reached out to old high school friends. I'd sift through my contact lists to see if anyone was worth reaching out to, and there were some. I'd text them. They'd show up at my house. But the only thing we could talk about was the past. I didn't realize it until much later, but a true friend should be excited to venture into the unknown with you. But the people I knew were personified memories, unwilling to move in the direction I wanted to go, stuck in the past. The answer to this existential problem of today, truly I believe, is a good friend at your side. Friendship eases the pain of life, and hopefully coming together more will create the warmth we so long for. And as always, Scrutly Mutley.